You wake up, alarm, phone in your hand before your eyes are fully open. Notifications, emails. Maybe you check your bank account. It doesn't look terrible, but something feels slow. You're busy all the time. Working, improving, planning. So why does wealth still feel far away? Here's the uncomfortable possibility. The things keeping you productive might be the same things keeping you stuck. Most people don't realize why yet, but by the end of this video you will. 1. The productivity trap. Your day fills quickly. Meetings, work, side tasks, small improvements to your life. You feel productive. You probably are, but there's a subtle pattern most people never notice. You're optimizing activity, not ownership. Ever noticed how easy it is to stay busy improving things that don't belong to you? Your job improves. Your skills improve. Your performance improves. But the system you're improving still isn't yours. This is what I call the productivity trap. You can spend years becoming extremely efficient at building someone else's machine, and the reward is usually the same. More responsibility, more workload, not necessarily more wealth, but there's something even more dangerous than being productive. Most people never notice it until years later. We'll get there in a second. Because wealth behaves differently from productivity. Productivity fills your calendar. Wealth grows quietly in the background. And if your calendar is full, something else isn't growing, which leads to the next thing keeping people busy. Something that feels responsible, but quietly delays their future. 2. The stability first illusion. You've probably told yourself this before. Once things are stable, then I'll focus on investing. It sounds logical, responsible, safe. So you wait. You wait until income feels comfortable, until expenses settle down, until life becomes predictable. But here's the hidden truth most people realize too late. Life rarely becomes stable. It just becomes more expensive. Rent rises, lifestyle adjusts, expectations grow, and without noticing, something subtle happens. Your financial system adapts to consume everything you earn. Ever notice that raises rarely feel like raises? That's not an accident. It's behavioral gravity. Your life expands to absorb income, and the longer investing is delayed, the more time quietly disappears. Not money, time, and time behaves differently from income. Once it passes, you don't get it back, which leads to something even more common. A habit that looks harmless, but slowly erases decades. The consumption upgrade loop. You tell yourself it's small, just a better version, a slightly nicer place, a newer phone, better subscriptions, more comfort, nothing extreme. And individually, none of these decisions ruin anyone financially. That's why they're so powerful, because they happen slowly. This is what I call the consumption upgrade loop. Your life improves just enough that returning to a simpler version becomes uncomfortable. And suddenly your financial baseline is higher, forever. Ever noticed how expenses rarely go down naturally? They only move one direction, up. And once your cost of living rises, freedom moves further away. Because now your time has a price tag attached to it, a higher one every year, which means you need to stay busy, just to maintain what already exists. And that leads directly to the next trap, one that feels like ambition, but often turns into exhaustion. The side hustle distraction. You want more control over your income, so you start something on the side. Freelancing, small projects, extra work after hours. At first it feels empowering, and sometimes it is. But here's where things quietly split into two paths. One path builds leverage, the other path builds more work. Most side hustles are just second jobs, and this is where most people accidentally make their life harder instead of richer. But we'll get to why that happens in a moment. More hours, more effort, more fatigue, but not necessarily more wealth. Because wealth tends to scale without your constant presence, whereas side hustles often scale your time commitment. Ever noticed how some people become busier, but not freer? That's not failure. That's misaligned effort. And eventually it leads to something uncomfortable to admit. You're working more than ever, but your future still depends on your time, which introduces the next habit. One that almost everyone does, constantly, without thinking. The attention drain. You sit down for 5 minutes, just to check something. News, social media, videos. It turns into 20 minutes, maybe more. Doesn't seem like much. But attention is the raw material of wealth building, and most people spend it on things that produce nothing. This isn't about discipline. It's about direction. Because the modern world is designed to capture your attention, not reward it. And attention, when scattered long enough, keeps people mentally busy, but strategically inactive. Ever noticed how easy it is to consume financial content without actually changing your financial behavior? Learning can feel like progress, but sometimes it's just entertainment in disguise, which leads to the next realization most people resist. And this is where the discomfort starts. This isn't really about money. It's about how your life is structured, the schedule, the habits, the environment around you. Most people don't have a money problem. They have a system problem. Their time feeds one system, while wealth grows inside another. And the two rarely overlap, which means you can spend years improving the wrong structure without realizing it. And once you see that, another pattern becomes impossible to ignore. And this next one is the trap that silently decides who becomes wealthy and who stays busy. It's hidden inside your schedule. 6. The calendar illusion. Look at your last week. Honestly, where did your time go? Work, errands, recovery from work, entertainment to recover from recovery. Now imagine repeating that pattern for the next 10 years. Not dramatically different, just slightly improved versions of the same routine. This is what traps most people financially. Not failure, repetition. Because wealth often grows from small actions repeated over long periods. But if those actions never enter your schedule, nothing compounds. Your calendar becomes proof of your future. And most people never audit it, which leads to another hidden time sink. Something people are proud of, but rarely question. 7. The over-optimization of small things. You compare prices, look for deals, try to save small amounts everywhere. Again, responsible behavior. But there's a quiet trade-off here. Some people spend years optimizing expenses instead of optimizing income systems. Saving $5 feels productive. But building something that produces $500 repeatedly is what changes financial trajectories. And most people unknowingly choose the smaller game. Not because they're wrong, because it feels safer, predictable, controlled. But the real shift happens when you stop asking, how do I spend less? And start asking, what am I building that grows without me? Which reveals another trap most people never notice. 8. The comfort career path. You follow the expected route. Education, job, promotions, stability. Nothing wrong with that. But here's the quiet issue. Career growth and wealth growth aren't always the same thing. A career can grow linearly. Wealth often grows exponentially. And if your income only increases with your time, your financial ceiling is quietly defined. This doesn't mean jobs are bad. It means relying only on one path creates fragility, because the system works as long as you work. And once you see that, you start noticing something else happening around you. And the invisible value extraction. Every day you participate in systems, platforms, subscriptions, companies, markets. You provide value constantly. Data, attention, labor, consumption. And most people do it only from one side, as participants, not owners. This is subtle, but important, because the people building wealth from these systems usually sit on the other side of the equation. They own the platforms, the assets, the equity, while everyone else keeps them running. Busy, productive, essential, but not necessarily wealthy, which leads to the final realization most people avoid. 10. The delay that feels harmless. You don't ignore investing forever. You just delay it. A year, maybe 2, until income improves, until you learn more, until life feels less chaotic. But investing has one ingredient that doesn't wait: time. And the strange part is, the earlier it starts, the less effort it requires later. But when delayed long enough, it demands more sacrifice to catch up. And most people realize this much later than they expected. Not because they were careless, because they were busy. Here's the shift most people never make. Wealth is not built by working harder inside a system. It's built by slowly building a system that works without you. Not immediately, not dramatically, gradually. The difference between people who stay busy and people who become wealthy is often invisible in the beginning. One group fills time. The other group allocates it. One reacts. The other intercepts. You don't notice the difference in year 1, maybe not even year 5. But eventually, one life becomes heavier, and the other becomes lighter, more optional, more flexible. And here's the part most people miss. The goal isn't to stop working. It's to stop being the only engine moving your money forward. Because when your time is the only engine, your future moves at the speed of your energy. But when systems exist alongside you, something changes. Your effort starts compounding, quietly, slowly, almost invisibly, until one day, you realize your calendar isn't the thing controlling your life anymore. Your systems are, and that's when the real shift begins. Ending, continuation loop. But here's the problem. Even if you avoid everything in this video, most people still stay stuck. Not because of habits, because of beliefs they've carried since school. Ideas about money that sound smart, but quietly keep people in the same cycle for decades. That's what we're breaking down next. Top 10 financial lies you've been told since school. Because once you see those, a lot of things about your life start making uncomfortable sense.